Sartoril Suter menjadi mu'alaf di awal tahun 2023 yang lalu. Andrew Tate yang juga seorang mu'alaf adalah sahabat dekatnya. Dia adalah seorang pengusaha security internasional sukses yang menetap di Dubai saat ini. Sekarang sebagai Muslim, apa pendapat Anda peran Islam dalam kehidupan sehari-hari?
Then I started practicing and I was like, whoa, there's a whole deeper level of benefits to this. One, the discipline, the power in resisting temptation. And when you're a man of means, alhamdulillah, I've done well. There's a lot of temptation out there, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes to casual sex or head into alcohol, all these things. It's all so accessible, you know, if you've got a certain amount of wealth. Islam is really helpful in rejecting all of that, just ignoring all of that.
Apakah Anda merasakan sesuatu yang berbeda dengan sebelumnya saat menjalankan ibadah agama secara Islam?
The deeper level, and that which I'm enjoying more and more, is there is an emotional benefit from practicing Islam in a very earnest and literal fashion that you cannot deny. If you pray regularly, if you take Ramadan seriously, if you say, no, I'm not the sort of person who engages in hedonism and all that, you know, low energy frequency nonsense. There is health benefits, there's mental health benefits, but there's that idea of your heart being still. I genuinely feel it, and this is not an emotion that comes and goes. This is every time. Every single time I pray, at the end of the prayer, I sit there and I have nothing but gratitude for having found Islam. Nothing. I don't pray for anything for myself. You know, I pray that my family are looked after. You know, my brothers continue, you know, steadfast in their pursuit of, you know, Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path. But for me, it's nothing but gratitude. Every time I pray, I feel an overwhelming gratitude for having found Islam, and the benefits, that stillness that I can feel, that I almost feel like I'm home.
Apa maksud Anda dengan mengatakan seperti berada di rumah itu? Apakah bisa dijelaskan?
This is actually something I reflected on the other day. I've been out of Australia for 15 years. I've been back 3 times.
Yeah.
I had this longing for heading back to Australia, even though I don't believe in, you know, the ideologies that are common in that country. The nature there, everything always felt very grounded, and I think you'll always feel most at home where you grew up. I longed for that feeling of being home. When I go to the masjid now, I have that feeling. I have the feeling of being at home, which I think is a beautiful thing. And I mean, I haven't prayed in many other masjids around the world other than, you know, the one across from my house, but I'm pretty sure any time I go into a masjid and pray, I will have that very clear sensation of being at home. And that was something as a, you know, 15-year expat I was missing. I was longing for that. So the deeper level, the emotional sort of life fulfillment and life satisfaction that you get from practicing Islam earnestly, man, what a boost to life. What an advantage over those who don't have it in terms of being a fulfilled, effective human. It's real.
Bisakah Anda jelaskan apa yang Anda rasakan saat melakukan sholat?
Sensation of being in touch with something bigger than you, of putting your ego aside, putting dunya aside, and really connecting with the source from which we came. So powerful. I pity anyone who doesn't have that in their lives. I really do.
Sebelumnya Anda adalah Kristiani. Adakah komentar Anda tentang Yesus?
I'd say, if anything, I feel more that I have more of an understanding, more of respect for Isa, for Jesus, than I did as a Catholic, as a Christian, because I'm more motivated to read deeper, and instead of religion being a chore, it's almost a passion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel, well, I am a lot more well read on Jesus.
Apakah pendapat Anda mengenai para penentang Islam yang marak di media sosial?
My red line, if it's crossed, if someone insults the Prophet ﷺ, or insults you know, other key figures, I won't interact with them. I won't talk to them, because I would never insult someone else's religion. And to me, that's a character flaw. I don't even think it's about Islam. If you're going to insult somebody's faith, shame on you for being a person without ethics and without character, without respect. So that's my view. And so there are a lot of, I think it's cool now to sort of speak out against Islam, or to question the various parts of the faith. If you want to question in a positive way, go for it. Let's have that dialogue. But if you're just there to throw out criticisms in a disrespectful manner to get attention on social media, then you're a scumbag, and I have no time for you. So yeah, anyone who has genuine questions, I think it's a great thing. How do I respond to those insulting the religion? I'll never be in the room with them. I'll never talk to them. To me, they're not people who are worthy of interacting with in any way.
Jadi secara umum, apa kesan Anda setelah menjadi umat Islam?
Yourself?
100%. I think if you practice Islam earnestly, you can't help but become more disciplined. You can't help but become more calm and more focused. Again, salah is putting all the dunya, all the world aside, and focusing on your connection with everything that's real, everything that's everlasting. A lot of people in the West, they'll talk about the benefits of meditation, or they'll talk about the benefits of fasting, or they'll talk about the benefits of trying to put your ego aside. And this is all encapsulated in a book that's hundreds and hundreds of years old. All these new age fads that think they've discovered something, it's all there and has been there for a long time. So I genuinely believe, now again, I don't want to say anything disrespectful, but I think Islam is a competitive advantage in that if you're taking your faith seriously, you are going to be more focused, more disciplined, more physically healthy, more mentally healthy than people who aren't practicing in an earnest manner. And I think, look, practicing any religion, I think, is a noble thing. However, the one with the most dogma, the one with the most guidance, the one with therefore the most benefits, we have to agree is Islam. There's so much structure and so much clear guidance on. Essentially, I see the intelligence behind all of the different elements of Islam. It is optimized in a manner to make humans the most disciplined, the most prone to reject hedonism, the most ethical in their dealings with others, the healthiest in terms of mentally, the way they perceive their human experience and live out their lives. The intelligence behind the structured living that Islam gives you is crystal clear to me, and I see it myself, I see it in other people. It results in you being a more effective human. Like if of course we don't sign up to a religion for selfish reasons, but if you were purely trying to become a better person, there's only benefit. There's only positive benefit from taking Shahada and in an earnest manner practicing Islam.
Adakah Anda merasa menyesal atau kecewa setelah menjadi Islam?
A lot of people say they found Islam in their darkest days. I found Islam in my best days. Alhamdulillah, I live something I've coined a custom-made reality. My family, healthy. I'm blessed with healthy children and good relationships. I have fantastic, meaningful work. I run numerous consultancy in other companies where I work with great people solving real problems. I have fantastic relationships with brothers. Materially I have more than I would ever need. I give zakat in a way that I'm quite proud of, even though I don't publicize it. I really do believe my life is ideal. Islam has added a whole nother level of fulfillment on top of that. So I couldn't be more grateful.
Apakah pendapat Anda tentang dakwah Islam?
And I've heard people talk about the sort of state that I am as like the dawah high, when you're really enthusiastic about it. I don't think it's a fading thing. The more I learn about Islam, the more of a dawah high I have, the more enthusiastic I become. And those moments where you're reading something and you go, that click moment, that makes sense. So for example, one quick one. For the longest of time throughout my life, I realized the underlying intent with which you approach an activity will directly impact the outcome. For example, if you're trying to get money, and your underlying intent is you're desperate and you're coming from a place of scarcity, you do anything you can, you might get that money, but it's going to be a very rocky road. Whereas if your underlying intent for getting money is one of abundance and one of gratitude and one of I'm going to benefit the people I work with, so it's win-win. I'm not going to take from people. You will get that money in a much more steady and more abundant manner. That underlying intent is so important. Then in Islam, I read about something called niyyah. And the fact that we have a concept, whereas the intent with which you approach something, even, when you go and pray, you set your niyyah, you set the intent. And I'm like, hang on, this is something that's written hundreds of years ago that took me 35 odd years to figure out. If only I'd read it earlier. And I have dozens and dozens of examples like that, where beliefs that I'd figured out through human experience, I find represented in texts written hundreds of years ago. That the amount of times I've had those moments where I'm like, that's what I thought, and here it is in this book, is remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. It's incredibly energizing, and I don't think my dawah high will ever fade. I think the more I learn, the more enthusiastic I'll get.
Itulah pendapat Sartorial Suter tentang apa yang dirasakan setelah menjadi Muslim, serta manfaat Islam bagi dirinya.
The reason why I took Shahada was, as an individual, I know that I'm limited. I know that there are such things as temptation. I know that there is programming from every angle that through in the Western world as to be the sort of man I don't want to be. Whereas if you choose Islam and you follow it in an earnest manner, that is a genuine shield, that is a superpower against all this wokeism, this liberalism, this degeneracy, this temptation. To me, I see it as a very obvious, very easy choice.
Demikianlah pandangan, kesan, dan pendapatnya setelah memilih Islam menjadi agamanya. Insya Allah bermanfaat bagi kita semua, dan wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.